What's up, everybody? My name is Kareem Jones, and I want to welcome all of you to my new channel, Pepe La View. And I am going to talk about one of my favorite female groups of all time. Recently, these ladies have been in the media because people are really excited about the possibilities of a reunion. And a YouTuber talked about these ladies several months ago, so I've been wanting to do this video for quite some time. And well, I said to myself, you know what? I am a fan of this group. I'm a diehard fan. I've followed these ladies since 1989 all the way up to now, and I have, just like all of you who have followed this group, have been going back and forth about should the original four reunite, should the five of them reunite, so on and so forth. So if you haven't guessed it by now, the ladies that I'm talking about, the girl group, for me, the girl group of all time is En Vogue. And that's what I want to discuss with you today. I want to talk to you. Yes, that's right, about Terry Ellis, Cindy Herron Braggs, Maxine Jones, and Dawn Robinson. Yes, I said I am a diehard. That's right. I have CD covers, okay? Go figure. Anyway, so let's talk about the group for a second. Now, Dawn Robinson of En Vogue, and for those of you who don't know Dawn Robinson, she sung lead on Giving Him Something He Can Feel. She's also sung lead on, the majority of the lead on Don't Let Go Love, as well as she co-led My Lovin' You're Never Gonna Get It, and other things, as well as with Lucy Pearl, so on and so forth. So she's been discussing about all of the things that's been going on in the group allegedly, and I'm gonna say allegedly, of course I don't know. But what I want to do today, I know Dawn has been all over the YouTube channels talking about it. Max has talked about it every now and then, and she's also been a part of some legal things with the group. She sued the group has sued her, so on and so forth. And she's talked about a couple of things. And of course, if you follow En Vogue, Cindy and Terry pretty much kind of like hush hush, and it seems like they like to take the high road. Well, what I want to do today in this particular video is I want to talk about, from a fan's perspective, of the back and forth and how I kind of see this possibly not happening. So my video is entitled, An En Vogue Reunion, Give It Up, Turn It Loose. So let's talk about these ladies, okay? So as I said before, these ladies debuted in 1990, probably April 1990. I'm not sure, but I think it was for sure 1990. Yes, I think it was around April, March of 1990 with the song Hold On. And of course we know the history behind that song. It went to #1 on the R&B charts and #2 on the pop charts. Now, for me, I was thinking that when I first saw the ladies, I pretty much was thinking that Cindy Herron was the leader of the group, then Terry Ellis, then Dawn Robinson, and then Maxine Jones. And I've grown to love Maxine, but I thought she was probably like a distant fourth in the group. Follow with me, okay? And for the most part, depending on who you talk to, most people would say, well, the En Vogue Hold On single shot straight to #1. Other people you've talked to say that the song kind of like was, you know, slow moving. And I remember hearing the song over the radio, and when I would hear it, I would say, oh, okay, that's the song that has the a cappella verse at the beginning of it. For me, I know I fell in love with these ladies when I saw the video for Hold On. I fell in love just like all of us fell in love with these ladies. And the rest became history. I can recall my sister, no, my aunt. My aunt, I was in the back, in the back room, and my aunt was watching Soul Train. And she called me. She yelled, called me up to the front. She was like, Kareem, En Vogue is on Soul Train. I tell this story all the time because it is a true story. And I recall seeing the ladies. I think they was probably like dressed in like these sailor suits or something like that. Anyway, they were on Soul Train, and again, always glued into the television set whenever they came on. And my aunt also called a friend of hers who lived in our neighborhood, and it just so happened that my aunt's friend, had a copy of the En Vogue CD, and I was told to go over there to get the CD so that we could be able to, sorry to say it, but bootleg it. So we bootlegged it, but hey, eventually I did go out and get a copy of my own of the group. Probably about a month or so later, I went out and purchased the actual CD. But anyway, so let's talk about the beginning of En Vogue. This video is probably going to be in maybe 3-4 segments. I'm not quite sure, but I know that I'm not going to keep the video. I know I'm going to keep the videos to about 30 minutes in length. So let's talk about it. For me, En Vogue opened up I won't say a new genre of music, because it was like a cappella, maybe like doo-wop, you know, back in the 50s, maybe 1960s, that type of style. But for the most part, what we know En Vogue to do is to have 4 lead singers. All of the ladies could sing lead. But of course, what other group was singing lead at the time? All the members were singing lead. For me, it would have to be the Pointer Sisters. The Pointer Sisters, all of those ladies sung lead, and they did pretty well in the early 1980s. Of course, we know them from the 1970s, but in the early 1980s with I'm So Excited and Neutron Dance, and there's another song and Jump. Those ladies really could sing their behinds off, and for me, I think that they would be the go-to group. If we wanted to say no other group was singing lead, all the members were singing lead, then we would say no, that's not necessarily the case, because the Pointer Sisters, although those sisters sung lead. But what En Vogue opened up was that girl groups were actually sellable. They were marketable. And these ladies opened up in the music industry. To me, you can argue about it with me all day long. It really doesn't matter to me. But every group after that, in 1990, when En Vogue came along the scene, every group after that was pretty much marketed with En Vogue in mind. So when Boyz II Men came out, you can say whatever you want to say, they was following the blueprint of En Vogue. I say the same thing about Jodeci. When Jodeci came out, it was pretty much En Vogue, the blueprint that En Vogue used. Jade came out. There was another group called Ex-Girlfriend that came out at the time. Who else came out after En Vogue? There was a lot of groups that came out, of course, like Escape, so on and so on, and then eventually Destiny's Child. But all of the groups, there was another group called Shy that came out. Shy had a song out called If I Ever Fall in Love Again. And pretty much what everybody was doing at the time was just modeling this En Vogue formula. And it pretty much seemed to work for everyone who tried to follow the En Vogue formula. The problem was, were they able to sustain? And we all know that certain groups did not sustain. Now, for me, En Vogue, I think because En Vogue captured our attention, captured our hearts, I think we just all fell in love with them, all for them. That I don't think, for me, and I pretty much was watching a lot of television at the time, and I was really into a lot of music at the time. And for me, I can honestly say I don't think we were paying attention to any other female group at the time. En Vogue pretty much was the group that we said, okay, this is it for us. That's my opinion about it. I can't think of any other girl group. Now, I don't know why when it came to other producers, let's say like Teddy Riley, who is known for the New Jack Swing, and then of course Babyface, LA Babyface at the time, probably around 1989 or 1990, started LaFace Records with Damian Dane, and then eventually I think maybe like in 1991, 1992, Jimmy Jam and Taylor Lewis had Perspective Records. So these producers were pretty much becoming some very heavyweight producers in the music industry. And for whatever reason, I don't know why Foster and McElroy never followed in that, they were never in that lane. And I was one of the few people probably who was anticipating to see Foster and McElroy turn Two Tough Enough Productions into Two Tough Enough Records. It never happened. And I always wondered why it just never seemed to hit for them as producers. Now, from listening to Foster and McElroy in interviews at the time, I've heard them say that what they did, the formula that they used for En Vogue was that they looked at other groups at the time, past groups and then present groups in the time. So I say groups probably around maybe like 1987, 1988, and then back, and to see what they did right and to see what they did wrong. And that's how they kind of put the image of En Vogue together. And it worked. And En Vogue pretty much, for the most part, as we know, Hold On, #1 R&B, #2 pop. Then they came out with Lies. Cindy Herron sung lead on Lies with Dawn Robinson co-leading. So Cindy Herron and Dawn Robinson co-led Lies. Then Cindy Herron led with You Don't Have to Worry, and Terry Ellis came out with led on Don't Go. Those 4 singles, all I think you had 3 #1s. Hold On, Lies, You Don't Have to Worry, and I think Hold On was #3 on the R&B charts. And well, there you have it. You have 3 #1s, another top 5 hit or top 10, however you want to call it, and the record went platinum plus. So En Vogue pretty much captured us. And we pretty much, for me, I didn't think we wanted another group to emulate them, to be like them. At least I know I didn't. There was a group that came out shortly thereafter, I think in 1991, and that would be a group that I mentioned previously, would be Ex-Girlfriend. Ex-Girlfriend looked like they tried to model En Vogue, and they failed miserably. In my book, they did have a top 5 R&B hit with a song called Why Don't You Come Home? And that record, as well as that single, was produced, of course, by Full Force, Bow-Legged Lou, and all of those guys over there. They produced them. But if you know the story behind Ex-Girlfriend, then you'll know that Ex-Girlfriend was called another group in the early 80s, and they had a song out called He's So Fine, and it was like a tribute or something like that to New Edition. Now, this brings me into talking about we didn't want any other group to follow too closely to En Vogue. Ex-Girlfriend tried to do the acapella thing at the end of Why Don't You Come Home. They also tried to do the acapella thing in the video for You're the One for Me. And if you purchase that Ex-Girlfriend CD called X Marks the Spot, then you would know. And if you listen to the Born to Sing record, and if you listen to the Ex-Girlfriend record, X Marked the Spot, you would know, unfortunately, Full Force really and truly tried to mimic the concept record that Foster and McElroy put together for Born to Sing. It is what it is, moving right along. Now, if you also, I'm saying all this, I'm not really reading from anything at all. All of this is stuff that I know in my head. Again, I have followed this group and I've followed a lot of other artists as well. It's just something that I loved to do back in the day. I do recall them being on BET, Ex-Girlfriend, with Sherry Carter. And I knew then that the group had pretty much put a nail in their careers when Sherry Carter introduced the ladies, saying, people are saying if Ex-Girlfriend is Born to Sing, that Ex-Girlfriend was singing before En Vogue's birth. I don't think that went over well with a lot of people. The group, of course they could sing. The X Marked the Spot record was a great record. You could see that the ladies, Ex-Girlfriend, tried to have the same style, the feminine style of En Vogue, but then there was kind of edgy as well. And it just didn't work. And of course, I think if they came out in 1991 with X Marks the Spot, then maybe around 1993, 1994, they released another record. I think it was called It's a Woman's Thing. And R. Kelly produced a single on there called You For Me. R. Kelly couldn't even give this group a hit record. But before they released their sophomore record, TLC came out in 1992. And it seemed like Ex-Girlfriend was, I don't know what was going on with the Ex-Girlfriend image, other than I just know for me it was a little too rough, to say the least. It was too rough, and I think it was too soon. It was too rough and too soon to come out a year right after En Vogue did and try to compete with the ladies. We had captured them. I think it was just the time. It was the timing. Now, let's see, and I'm trying to keep these videos at 30 minutes. So let's talk about then what was occurring. Well, in 1990, we know En Vogue came out. I can't think of any other girl group except, like I said, Ex-Girlfriend that came out, and I'm not going to look up any other groups because I just don't want to. But around 1992 is probably when you see a lot of girl groups that came out. At that time, Jade was out. SWV was coming out. You had Escape that came out. What other group that I can think of that came out around that time? Anyway, long story short, what you will see, or what I noticed, is that record companies were looking for girl groups, but it looked like to me what, let's say for instance, to give you an example, we know that Escape, if you watch Escape's career, I think it's Teen Summit. I think the ladies of Escape sung Hold On Teen Summit. It was like a competition or something. And you didn't hear from them after a while. And I think you probably didn't hear from them after a while. Again, they was trying to sing Hold On by En Vogue. And again, I think this was just a group you just don't touch. That's the way I look at for En Vogue. I think En Vogue just, they have, whatever it is that they have, we love it, and we don't want anybody to compete with them. It's like, this is the thing, this is the real thing, we don't need anything else. And I think that that's just, in my opinion, what it is. So, Ex-Girlfriend for a minute didn't even try, not Ex-Girlfriend, Escape didn't try to do any of the acapella thing at all. So, I noticed that En Vogue, not En Vogue, SWV came out, and they came out with their first single Right Here, and glued into the television set. I just looked at this group like, oh gosh, please hurry up and go away. Sorry, SWV, but when you first came out, that's how I felt. It wasn't until they released the single I'm So Into You, and I was like, wow, I'm digging this. I think I'm going to love SWV when they released I'm So Into You. But if you, I'm pretty sure you agree with me, no one, SWV, even though Coco has said in interviews that they wanted to be like En Vogue, but if you look at SWV did not try to be like En Vogue, and I think that's the reason why SWV became successful. The same thing with TLC. I think TLC became successful. Yes, LA Reid and Babyface and Pebbles and all of those people over there, you know, very talented individuals. So of course they was going to give them some good material. But notice, TLC, they're not trying to be like En Vogue, and it looked like what was happening to me, these groups were finding their own lane and staying in their own lane, paying, giving En Vogue their props, saying, hey, we love these ladies, so on and so forth. So can't recall any groups at the time dissing En Vogue, especially other female groups. You just didn't do it, and I think it was more of a media thing. You just didn't do it. And I think that's pretty much it. So now let's talk about a little bit about the dynamics and go back to what I thought would be, what I was thinking that who was like, maybe like lead and not lead and so on and so forth. Because of the way the Born to Sing record was put together, and you would see that Cindy and Terry was on all of those records and all of those hits. It's only like in our minds we really and truly got to know Terry and Cindy more than we got to know Dawn and Maxine. Which brings me back to Maxine. From my understanding, Maxine has been quoted as saying that when she joined the group, I think she said she was a first soprano trying to become a second soprano, but when she got into En Vogue, she was singing all of the low stuff in the group. We're going to talk a lot about that in the next videos. But she was singing all of the low stuff. As a matter of fact, I recall her saying that whoever told her about the audition for En Vogue was pretty much kind of looked at her like, are you sure you want to do this? So it seemed like to me, whatever the case may be, that Maxine was never really taken seriously. And she has been quoted as saying that Tommy and Denny told her that she probably would never sing lead. But of course we know that that's not the case, because on the Born to Sing CD, I think she, her lead vocals would be on Time Goes On. I think it's Time Goes On. I can't think of any other songs that she sung all the leads on. Just Can't Stay Away is Terry Ellis. Love Line is Dawn. Waiting on You is Dawn. Well, no, she didn't sing all of the lead on Strange. I think she did. I think she sung all the lead on Strange on the Born to Sing CD. But anyway, so now let's talk about this, and the reason why I'm talking about this now, I'm trying to set the stage for all of the things that have transpired and leading all of us to try to figure out what has been going on in the En Vogue camp, and this is from a fan's perspective. So there you have it. 1990, the ladies are winning awards. We're loving them. They're all over the place. And girl groups and female groups are coming out of the woodworks trying to live their dreams. Record companies are trying to cash in on the concept, and we're loving it. We're loving it a lot. And for the most part, we don't see any issues that could possibly be going on inside the En Vogue camp. So this would be part one of maybe 3 or 4 videos. So I want to end it here. It's just pretty much, as I said, set the stage. Just bear with me. You're going to want to know what I'm thinking. Okay? Be right back.